Well, there's a spotlight now on Facebook's dark arts. Its exploitation of children has been exposed. Internal confidential documents show that Facebook can detect when children are feeling stressed, defeated, overwhelmed, stupid, nervous, useless, and like a failure. It's even boasted about this insight to media agencies, saying that it can then target children who are feeling like this. Now, these allegations first emerged in 2017, but now a whistleblower has given evidence to the US Senate Judiciary Committee about some of these strategies. Here she was.
And so what the company was doing was letting these advertisers know that these 13 to 17-year-olds were feeling depressed and saying, now's a really good time to serve them an advertisement. Or if a 13-year-old girl would delete a selfie, that's a really good time to try and sell her a beauty product.
It's just appalling exploitation. Now, joining me now to discuss is the Australian newspaper's managing editor and commercial director, Darren Davidson, who's investigated this story in the past and written about it today. Darren, thanks for your time. So Facebook, as we heard there and as you've reported, it boasted to media agencies in internal documents that it can target kids when they feel worthless and insecure. So can you give us a bit more detail on how they then exploit children who are in this state?
The idea is that they can pinpoint exact moments when young children, particularly females, are feeling anxious, as you said, depressed. Worthless was one of the emotional fields that Facebook's sophisticated algorithm can target. The document that I obtained talked about young girls building confidence between a Monday and a Thursday. And then from Friday through the weekend, they would be in what they called broadcast mode, talking about their achievements and things like that. And the document essentially outlined how media agencies on behalf of their clients, and in this case, in this document, it was a bank and a chewing gum manufacturer, could actually target young girls and adolescents and children as young as 14 and 13 during these moments when they might be more susceptible to advertisements. And I was astonished when I got hold of that document. As you know, we reported it in the Australian at the time, and it's now resurfaced 8 years later in this US Congress investigation into Facebook. Sarah Wynne Williams, who you just saw there in the grab, she was actually dispatched by Sheryl Sandberg, the then second in command to Mark Zuckerberg, to essentially kill my story. And in the book, which I've been reading over the past week, Sarah talks about her attempts to actually do that. They gave me a misleading statement, another misleading statement. And in the days after the story was published, I was phoned by two journalists in Australia, one at Fairfax and one at the ABC, who told me that Facebook had contacted them and personally sort of attacked me and attempted really to smear me in an attempt to dissuade other journalists and media outlets from following our story.
And it's taken years for this to be, centre stage for Sarah Wynne Williams to give evidence in such a public way in a congressional committee. How seriously is this now being taken by, well, the Trump administration, but also both sides of politics in the United States? And what's being done about this now? Because parents right around the world are already so concerned about the impact that social media is having on their children.
I totally agree. I mean, I think parents are in this kind of sticky situation of feeling a little bit helpless about what to do in regards to screens. I mean, many schools will have tablets in the classrooms now, and we've kind of moved and transitioned from sort of play-based activities to screen-based playtime now, and that's that's quite sad. I think a lot of parents would like to see legislative action to actually address and deal with this problem. I think Anthony Albanese's proposals to ban social media for under 14s will probably resonate quite strongly in this federal election in a few weeks' time. It is gaining traction in the US. That inquiry is also centred on Facebook's links to China, so that's a focus for them as well. But I think there is a groundswell of opinion now around the world and a bit of momentum behind this to actually do something about this and bring Facebook to account. I think the other idea that's been floated in Australia by our executive chairman at News Corp Australia, Michael Miller, is for a social licence for platforms like Facebook to operate. And I think that idea is now starting to gain a bit more popularity as well. It was considered quite radical at the time, but I think it's now becoming something that people are prepared to accept and adopt if politicians on both sides of the fence get behind the idea.
And by the way, Dutton has the same policy, of course, on children under the age of 14 being banned from having access to social media. He, I think, actually announced it first. Sorry to fact check you on that, Darren, but got to get the policy sequence right here. There's also this
100%.
movement, though, in Australia, and I've had the parents on my program even, to stop children having access to smartphones until at least year 8. So this movement for parents to give their kids dumb phones so they can still contact them for security reasons if they need to, but it just means that children don't have access to the social media apps. And given what we're now hearing in a very public way in US Congress, that these apps like Facebook, the most common, probably one of the most common apps in the world, is exploiting children like this when they are feeling most vulnerable. I mean, it's terrifying, really concerning. Just a quick final comment, Darren.
I think that's a great idea, the one that you've just outlined there about phones. I think all parents know instinctively that something quite profound has happened with the introduction of the smartphone back in 2007, and we've had this period over the last 10 years where we've seen harmful effects, and it's one of the biggest, I think, challenges we all face in society today, social media and the harmful effects it's having on children.
Yeah, indeed. All right, Darren Davidson, great to have you on the program. Thanks for your time.